We'll go ahead and start with that. So I'm going to just call your name in the order that I see them over here on my list. And if you'll just unmute and tell us who you are, where you work, and what grade that you teach, that would be fantastic. So we will start with June.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is June Killebrew. This coming school year, I will be working at J.P. Freeman Optional School as the sixth grade STEM teacher. I come from CCTE High School, so this is my first year to teach STEMs.
Great, welcome. All right, let's see, Paula.
Hey, I'm Paula. I'm from K8, Hamilton K8. This is my 24th year, so I will be retiring soon. I teach sixth grade science and STEM. Yeah.
We're happy to see you.
Thank you, Stephanie.
All right, let's see. No, they all reordered. All right, Yanli?
Yes, that's me. My name's Yang Hui. I'm teaching at White Station High School. I'm teaching AP Calculus, Pre-AP, and Honor Calculus, and Multivariable Calculus. Doing enrollment with U of M. Yes.
That's great. Well, we are happy to definitely have you as well, and I would like to see those students coming right into our engineering program.
Thanks.
All right, let's see here. Antoinette. I'm not sure if she is able to hear us.
Okay, I'm here. Hello, good afternoon. My name is Antoinette Harvey. I'm working on my video right now. I'm trying to see why it's not coming in. But anyway, I teach 8th grade science at White Station Middle School.
Great, welcome. All right, Arnita? Arnita, if you're talking, you're muted. Okay, well, she may not be able to talk. Okay, let's see. And Heather just posted to the chat that she has little ones running around, so she's going to stay muted, but she teaches at Dyer Middle School in Gibson County, 5th through 8th grade STEM and 6th grade math. So welcome, we're excited that you're here. Let's see here.
Excuse me, my mic is working now.
Okay, great.
I'm Arnita. This is my first year at Cummins K through 8, and I am the optional school coordinator. And so we're trying to start a brand new STEM program at the school. So we're all new and learning, so I'm just looking for ideas.
We are excited to be working with you. So welcome.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Booker. I think you're muted.
I'm sorry, now I'm not. I'm Keith Booker. I am the STEM lead at the T-STEM Academy at East High School.
Good to see you, and I'll see you again tomorrow.
That's my plan, yes.
All right. Patrice.
Hello, I'm Patrice Morrow at Sherwood Middle School. I teach STEM 6 through 8.
Welcome. And let's see, Miss Brees has also typed into the chat. She says, hello, she is grades 5 and 6 science. All right, and Rebecca has also, well, I think she can talk. She just thought that we had already missed her, but we haven't. So Rebecca, if you want to unmute, you can.
All right, sorry about that. I was gone for the first couple minutes, but I'm at Memphis School of Excellence this year, teaching high school math. So excited to be able to learn some other strategies.
All right, we're glad you're here. Tina, did I already call on her? Tina, do you want to unmute? All right, so we will move on to Wanda.
I'm driving, but I'm Wanda Woodruff from Delano Optional School, and I'm the STEM lead, broadcasting teacher, computer teacher / everything.
Well,
Still
welcome.
trying to learn more STEM skills.
Welcome.
Thank you.
And drive safely, and we're looking forward to working with you again this year.
Thank you, Stephanie.
And I think Tina is rejoining. She was having trouble. So we'll give her a second to connect. I think she's...
Hey, this is Tina Burton. Can you hear me?
Yes, now we can.
Okay. I teach kindergarten at Whitehaven STEM Elementary.
Great. All right, and then Yasmin.
Yasemin Kelesh. I'm working on Memphis School of Excellence, Algebra 1, 9th graders.
Great, welcome. Okay, so I think I got everybody. If I missed anybody, please either unmute and say hello or just type into the chat and say hello. But now at least we all know who we all are. Well, except I'm Stephanie. I did not say that at the beginning. Stephanie Ivy. I direct the West Tennessee STEM Hub, and you probably get lots of emails from me. Hopefully you saw the ones that I sent today, or one I sent today, about the opportunity with Texas A&M, because that looks pretty cool. And it's very limited, so you got to sign up fast if you want to do that one. And then I sent one yesterday that had both information for you guys as well as something to share with your students in case they're interested in being involved in a research project. So in any case, so we will go ahead and get started, and we have two very esteemed speakers with us today. First, we have Diedrich McGee. Diedrich, you want to wave? He is all things STEM at Shelby County Schools. And then we also have Clark Knight. Clark, you want to wave? And he is Bartlett, CTE, and they are going to share some perspectives about kind of what they're expecting this fall, sort of thinking about where we ran into issues in the spring and how we might be able to address those. But really we want this to be a brainstorming session with everybody to come up with some ways that we might be able to work together to make things go better. I'm also going to share as well some information about how we're going to do our on-call STEM ambassador support that can support all of you, and then something new that we have planned for this fall that we have never done before. Before we get started with that though, I do want to have three people in the middle of my screen now who, for whatever reason, I just skipped them all, say hi to everyone. So we'll start with Dusty. She's one of our STEM ambassadors.
Hi, I'm Dusty. I just started being in the STEM ambassador program last year, and I taught, I assisted the STEM teacher at Springdale Elementary for a semester, and that was good, but that's as far as I've gotten into like teaching or anything, so.
And she's a stellar student. She's a biomedical engineering major. And then this is Sharon.
Hey, I'm Sharon. I'm a junior civil engineering major. I've been working with Ivy for I think 2 years now. I don't know, time flies by when you're working with her. So, so I've been in a ton of schools around Memphis and Shelby County. So you've maybe have seen me, but I help out with robotics. I've helped out with Cummings Elementary doing their robotics stuff as well. But we usually help with like competitions and all sorts of in classroom tutoring and stuff like that. So that's me.
Thank you. And then Dr. Windsor, I left you out.
So my name's Alastair Windsor. I'm a mathematician at the University of Memphis. I've done lots of professional development in both the rural districts and with Shelby County schools.
All right, so now we'll get started. So Diedrich and Clark, if you would start by talking a little bit about how your districts will be operating this fall, just sharing that with everyone. We've seen, I'm sure everybody has seen stuff on the news or read it and online, but let's hear it from actual representatives of the districts. Diedrich, we'll start with you.
Awesome. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for spending some time with us this afternoon. I cannot even begin to say how appreciative I am of the educators that are online. This is going to be a rodeo. That's all I can. And then I guess it depends on what type of horse you're going to ride. So again, I really appreciate it. But when we begin to talk about our approaches, the first thing I'll say is Shelby County Schools, we are 100% virtual. We're literally in the midst of handing out distributing over 95,000 devices. And I know my day, we are probably working right at about 12-hour shifts, and that's all employees at central office are all hands on deck. And if I can't say anything else, we're also working with the teachers daily. And if I can't say anything else, it's routines. I think someone once said it takes 21 days for it to become a habit. So the first thing that we are working through now is, what does the first couple of weeks of school look like? Which of those handy resources that are available, irrespective of the platform that you're using, that you could have as a mainstay? So I'll kind of share 2 or 3 things, and I'm gonna kick it over to Clark. The first thing is establishing those quote unquote office hours, because eventually for us being 100% on virtual, there will be times that you're going to have to unplug, because we have some teachers that will begin right at a little before 7 o'clock, and they're going to go clean through a little after 3 o'clock, and that's a long time. Now, of course, I can watch Game of Thrones or Breaking Bad for a couple hours. That's different than teaching, right? So that screen time is at the utmost. And then for the other part, going back to the routines, we're spending a lot of time with our platform, which is Teams. It's spending time really knowing the ins and outs, because that screen time etiquette, or utilizing the screen time and the etiquette, is so imperative that, for example, maybe I'm working on the shower here at home, right? And I needed to get a quick a cartridge that goes inside the faucet, right? So all of a sudden I looked at that, but then I did that on a break today. But I needed to be sure that I close that, because when I go back to instructional, guess what? Home Depot is going to pop up, Lowe's is going to pop up, and that may be a distractor for some of our students. So going back to routines and knowing my platform, being very familiar with those links. So, and now that I'm preparing that link, going back to that etiquette and the routines, every link that I share, I put in chat boxes inside of the other platforms that's inside of the training, or working alongside our educators. So if someone can't get to it, guess what? They had no way to get to it. Don't be afraid. Many of our babies are, they are the digital natives. We are the ones that are immigrants, right, to this land. So we make it work. However, they can transition, but remember, routines. So if a student gets behind, it's really building those routines. So we come back to office hours. What are we going to do? I'm going to pause there, because I don't want to talk too long. I want to monitor my own airtime. Clark, what are your thoughts?
Thanks, Diedrich. Good to see you, and good to talk to everybody. And I'm looking forward to learning as much from you all as what I can share with you. So thanks for having me in today. We're doing a hybrid model at Bartlett. We're bringing back all our elementary schools. We good? Everybody muted? So we're bringing back all our elementary schools and our middle schools. And I'll start there and then go to high school. Okay. So anyway, on the Paula, I'm with you on that retirement. As I said, all of our elementary schools are coming back, and we are practicing social distancing as far as spacing out in the school. So the schedule's not going to look like a normal, regular elementary school schedule, because we will have the kids spread out. Now, we have given our parents the option to do all virtual, which about 25% of our elementary students are doing all virtual. Now, that goes up as we get to middle schools and high schools, to where overall the district is probably at about 38%, 40% of all of our 9,000 students are going to be on virtually. Our middle schools we're basically splitting the school in half, where you have the 4 core in the morning, which would be your math, science, language arts, social studies, and then that gets flipped, and then while the afternoon sessions gets flipped, the other kids will be doing their MAPs, which would be fine arts, STEM, middle school, PE, all those other type courses. Maybe somebody might have a class of Spanish 1 or something like that. And then when we go to the high school, we're doing a hybrid model where basically you'd have certain students coming their full schedule Monday, Wednesday, all right? Then Tuesday, Thursday, the second half of that class comes and does that 7-person schedule. Our virtual students check in with the teachers every day, and then Friday's an all virtual day for all of them. Now, in between those times, and I'm just going to break it down, it might be like we're learning to tie a shoe on Monday. Well, you're going to learn that on Monday and Tuesday. The teacher's doing that those days. Then the homework is going to be putting the shoe on. Then Wednesday, Thursday, be learning to untie a shoe, and then the homework's taking the shoe off. And then Friday, we do an assessment type review. Hey, can everybody put their shoes on in time and take them off? So that's our hybrid schedule that we're doing with our high school. We've got a lot of different resources that we're putting in. We have a platform called Curve, which basically I'm calling the Walmart of platforms, because when you open up Curve and go into it, there's all these resources that all the teachers are doing. To add to Mr. McGee and what he was talking about, he's right. The teachers were kind of trying to breeze through a lot of this stuff real fast, and they need time with it. And the frustration level that comes with that, it's no different than all of us probably experienced with this pandemic that we're dealing with. But you know, the one thing that you want to keep a focus on, as Diedrich was talking to, was the quality of the education is going to be there. Do our teachers know the platform? Are they making those contacts both with the virtual kid, because we're asking a lot of them, both with the virtual kid as well as the kids that are in the class, and then with that quality of what we're bringing with the instruction, are we getting the type of projects and stuff, specifically to STEM, that would be reflective of what we know it's going to be different, but would be reflective of what we would see throughout the year in a, old way we used to do things. And I think that I'll stop there, and then I'm pretty sure some other people are doing some pretty remarkable things out there. Dr. Ivy.
Thank you. I actually want to put a couple of people on the spot because we've got some people from several other districts. So Cheryl has joined. Cheryl, I don't know if you're able to unmute, but you missed the introductions. So I was wondering if you could unmute and say hello to everybody, and then tell us what you guys are going to be doing this fall, how everything's going to work for you.
Okay. Let's see, it's kind of there. Well, okay, can y'all hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you. Now we can't. Now we can't. It looks like you're muted now.
Are we good now?
Yes.
Okay. I teach physics. I'm part of the VEX robotics community, where we do robotic communications, robotic competitions and so forth. I also do an after school program with Project Succeed with a couple of the middle and the elementary schools. We are doing a hybrid type learning process for the first 3, for the first 3 weeks, where we have the first 2 days are alike, But then we have lessons for every day as if you were teaching the students their subjects, if you saw the students every single day. So when the Wednesday group comes in, the Thursday group, we have half of the students coming in. Half the students come in, they got like A through K come in on Wednesday. So that other half will be virtual. Then they flip-flop. So then Wednesday goes virtual, the bottom group goes virtual, and the other half will be face-to-face. And then we've got, then we're looking at those who have devices and internet. If they do not have communications, then we have to send packets with them on a daily basis so that when they're virtual, they can keep up with their daily assignments. It's kind of crazy. It's like a roller coaster. We're going to do that for the first 3 weeks and see what happens, and go from there.
You want to tell them which district you're with?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm in Tipton County.
Thank you. Okay, and then I don't know if Rebecca, I know you have, no, it wasn't Rebecca. Who was it? It's Heather. Heather has her kids at home. Heather, I don't know if you're able to unmute and tell us anything about Gibson County. Or maybe just type something for us a little later and let us know what you guys are doing. Okay, so it doesn't look like she can unmute. So hopefully she'll. Oh, there she
this is.
Hello.
Just real quick, it's only our second year to try it in our middle school. Last year, or I'm sorry, the previous year, we did it where I saw every kid once a week, and it was a little chaotic trying to get projects done that way. So they've decided to do it after Christmas. We would see 2 classes for a week at a time. So we're just kind of looking for ideas and just mainly just ideas and project ideas on how to get that started.
Are you guys going to be in person or hybrid, or do you know yet?
At this point, right now, at this point, we will be in person.
Okay. So we have just like the full gamut. Anybody else here representing a different district that wants to share what you're doing? Okay. So let's go ahead and move on and start talking about some of the areas where you think we're going to run into the most challenges. And I'll start by saying that, you know, from the university standpoint, where we're really struggling to figure out how to make things work is with our labs. So some of them will meet in person, sort of, kind of weirdly spaced and separated from one another. It makes it very hard to do group projects in person. So in some cases, our labs will actually be online, you know, where the instructor's actually doing the demo and the lab experiment for the students while they're all watching, and they're having to collect the data as they go along. But, you know, maybe Clark, because now you are in the top left-hand corner of my screen, maybe you could start and share kind of where you think some of the pinch points will happen, or what some of the things are that you're most concerned about in terms of trying to address in this wacky mode that we're in.
Well, there's so many things to be concerned about, because this is the one area where when you think you have a plan together, the minute you open the door, 100 more questions come out. So I don't know when we'll get to the point where we're going, hey, we got it, you know, but some of the things, though, particularly the lab, is that's going to be a real challenge with students. Now, some ideas that I heard about today that people were talking about was actually supplying students, and especially with college, it might be more doable than it would be for us, but supplying them with GoPro cameras and then they have a kit where the stuff that they would normally be doing in the lab, they could do with the GoPro hooked in with the professor, and then actually doing that lab work within a kit that they would get from the course. There's a lot that I'm worried about and challenges I see. For instance, we've got new 3D printers, and that's obviously the kids that are coming are going to be experience that. So how do we duplicate that, or what are our expectations for our virtual students, and how will we be able to get that to them? We haven't figured it all out yet, but we're going to try our best to come up with maybe kits for kids, or duplicate some form of lab type enterprise setting that they could experience that through the virtual networks. Diedrich, you got anything that?
Thank you, Clark. As you began talking, and I was kind of thinking about Stephanie's question, forgive me, this is probably a bad example, but I think about this process as that first year after I got married. It was trying to read what my wife was thinking about, right? And so this is something I had to learn to do. So just think, you have a class of students and you can't read those verbal cues. I can't walk through the classroom. I can't touch them. I can't kind of, hey, it looks like you're struggling a little bit. Tell me more, right? So it was just the same situation that I experienced some years and years ago. But the other part is that as I learn to progress through this process, then I have to gain the learner's confidence. As a teacher, a classroom teacher, when I was in the classroom, I would spend the better half of the first 2 weeks learning students, learning their mannerisms, learning who they are. That was a big chunk of the learning. That was a big chunk of the relationship that's in the classroom. It's so hard to do that sometimes. Even like right now, I have to remind myself to put all the pictures on the screen at one time so that I can remember to look at each one. It's hard, when we're in person, I can go and navigate that space, but how do you do that? And work your platform and juggle 600 other things and limit my own distractions. Where if I was in person, maybe I'm getting a text message or maybe I'm getting an announcement over the intercom. You get used to that, right? You train your brain, but how do you do that just to get the instructional piece? And the other piece that I kind of scribbled down is the tools that I typically use in the classroom, the hands-on piece where the students are working together. If I'm doing models, if I'm in the earlier grades, those models are so imperative to utilize. If I'm in the upper grades and we're going to create some things, I don't have that kind of, let's just say the truck didn't turn over where I could put enough money out there so I could send a 3D printer home with every kid, right? Send a certain type of calculator home with every student. So now I have to utilize a lot of the e-learning. I think one of the opportunities that we do have is to, in Shelby County, because we are now that every student K-12 will have some type of device, now that we can send those, let's all open this particular app together. Now, the hard part is, what do you do when little Johnny's lights aren't on at home, right? Whether it be some type of financial situation, or you know what, Clark's cousin came by and knocked over the telephone pole. Now I don't have internet, or I didn't charge my laptop. So now we have those obstacles. So the fun part is, instead of that's going to have to be case by case right now. But as we just kick the school year off, we're going to hope that nothing else bad happens. That we're going to hope for perfect situations. But going into it, that's my initial gut reaction of those initial instructional situations.
Thank you. And it's funny. I was even thinking about, that whole relationship building issue with my students. And I was kind of glad when we went virtual because, I was thinking in the hybrid version where I would have half of them at a time, but they'd all be wearing masks. I'm like, how am I ever going to learn their names? Because I'm never going to see their faces, because I walk right past my sister wearing a mask and don't realize it's her, So, I think there are some benefits to the virtual because you can at least see everybody. But you're right. There are also just a lot of complications. I've got one student that's already emailed me because he has trouble with streaming. So, he may not ever be able to join that. So we've got to make sure we're recording everything, and I'm providing phone numbers for him to call in so he can at least listen, and, you know, he can play back the video later and all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of challenge. You know, it's a little easier with adults, you know, working with college students, but when you're talking about K-12, that's just a whole other thing. Cheryl, is there anything you want to add to that? You're muted again.
There we go. I was given some suggestions about with my STEM labs and so forth, because I've been concerned because you can't do some courses just require a lot of lab work to understand the process of problem solving and critical thinking. So what somebody brought to my attention was, for example, if I'm building a windmill and I want to do group work, well, I assign different parts of that windmill to different people, and they work on that part 6 feet apart. They can communicate across from each other or by board, however. And then as we begin, they get their parts, you know, they problem solve, decide what they want to do with the windmill. And then each one at a different time, I would reckon, I guess, to keep people from getting so close, begin to put their pieces together to build that windmill. So you don't have that where this could be advantageous, where one person is not building it and everybody's just standing watching and writing down the notes. Everybody has a part that has to go together to make that windmill stand up. And then there was another situation talking about the demos. One of my other really good labs that the kids like is making an airbag. So if I do the demo, I have 4 different situations set up, 4 bags. They're 6 feet apart in a group conversing, telling me how much they want to put in the airbag. So then it becomes a competition, and it's totally in their hands of what that airbag, how full that airbag will be. So now they want to make it tighter than the other groups, and they've got to do the work, and they're just telling me, and I'll just demo for them. I thought those were 2 real good ideas, and I could probably use that to break up within some other kind of labs which require group work and a close contact.
Yeah, that is really good. You know, another thing that we've been talking about with the STEM Hub is, you know, a lot of times we do after school robotics programs and things like that with students, and trying to figure out how do we do that when everybody's not going to have a robot. But the great thing about robots is that most of the platforms have the online coding software. So, you know, having the students work in teams to develop that code virtually, and then they can send the code to the STEM ambassador. The ambassador can actually load it into the robot. The robot, then they can demo what their code actually did. So even though they don't get to touch it, they can actually see what they were able to do with that code. So those are some of the things that we've been talking about as well. Does anybody else have something they want to talk about that is a concern for them moving into the fall?
I think student engagement just in general with them, I mean, that's kind of a widely known concern, but just, you know, with them taking 90 minutes of math and 90 minutes of English and then coming to even like a 45-minute supplemental class or something, seems like it's going to be a big issue to keep them engaged.
Definitely. Other thoughts on that? All right, well, what are some of the kind of exciting ideas or, you know, innovative things that you've seen? Cheryl shared a few. What are some of the things that you think are really promising for how we can make this work? I don't know, Diedrich or Clark, which one of you wants to start?
I'll go if you're good with that. Well, for one, I think it's really, I've seen a lot of teachers get a little bit excited with some of the technology that we're going to be using with the virtual or digital learning. There's some wonderful platforms out there and wonderful different learning things that you can use, Coding HS, Tooling U, Java, all this stuff is just opened up a whole new world to them. And so I think the struggles that we're going to have, and we are going to have a lot of struggles, but I think it's going to make us better teachers, because I think that the new, I'm not going to use that word, I hate that, but what's going to come out of this is a new way we're all going to be doing education. And I think it's going to be, I think it can be a better way. I really do. I think, but you know, we need the hands-on stuff. We need that. But I've been real excited with all the resources that are available out there, and all of the way the teachers have kind of been attracted to it. They've jumped on it. Now we do have to be very conscientious of how fast we go with some of these things we want them to do. And I'm included in that too. You can't just throw it out there and say, here's the manual, go do it. I mean, that's not how we would teach our kids. So we got to remember that we got to keep that same type of quality in our professional development that we're doing with our teachers. Diedrich, you want to go next?
Hey, you know, I'm sorry, I did that on purpose. I just, the airtime now is like, it's almost like a long commercial break or blank airspace. It's like you have to fill everything now. So my apologies. The one thing that I do want you to know is when you talked about innovation for a second there, Clark, the world is we are truly able to now open the door to our classrooms and our schools. The beautiful part about this, this tragedy is that everyone is in it. Usually it was only one part of the world, one country, one state, one city. What we did this summer, we were working on industry tours, and we said, well, let's make a couple of phone calls to a couple of companies. No one said no. The problem was when we started working on it, everyone said yes. So we had to, how do we work this out on a calendar? Everyone wanted to show they began opening the doors so that you can now bring the world into your classroom. I want you to write down something for later. It's called iNaturalist. It's a website where you could, now I'm old now, so I guess I'm getting closer to AARP. So when they threatening my life there. So one of the things that I found out is when I was small, or younger, I had to make that, you remember you had to collect leaves and put them in a notebook? And then I was like, why am I collecting this crap, right? So one of the things that we found out, and I admit, I find this wowed me, maybe I'm a nerd now. I submitted pictures that I found in our neighborhood and at a couple of the Wolf River Conservancy areas. When we started looking at the Greenway, we found some really cool leaves, and my own personal kids, they took a snapshot, uploaded it right there from a device, and they received an email and got feedback. Right? And that means other people out there were doing the exact same thing. Then I think we did this. Our girls were also a part of the Girls Experiencing Engineering, and there were folks online that were giving, talking about their careers, and just think, they could have actually been anywhere in the world. If you Google Skype with a scientist, we experienced this back in, I think it was like May, right before I guess everything just really kind of closed out for the school year. We had a couple of folks that were out in, either studying some things in Ireland or one other place. And we were on a remote location, and it was awesome. So we brought the world basically into the homes and the classrooms of our students and our teachers. And the very last piece was the coolest thing that we saw for one of the like summer learning opportunities for our students. Since the kids were at home, the teacher went to the site, right? So the teacher they were testing water bottle rockets in a math classroom. And what they did was, because the teacher was able to be there and to do it on Zoom, she showed the trajectory of the bottle rocket. So where they were used to learning about parabolic equations, now what they were doing is truly teaching projectile motion. And when they started having those conversations and the kids were doing it, the kids wanted the equipment to go home. I just said I hadn't turned over the right ice cream truck to make this happen yet. But just imagine, the kids did try to get some vinegar and baking soda, do some Steve Spangler type stuff, and they made their own rockets. But it was that opportunity to connect home, and school. So again, the innovation that we do have, remember, everyone in this world right now is somehow connected to this tragedy or calamity, but how do we now work together? And I'm sorry, Dr. Ivy, the very last thing, the coolest thing that I probably did was I went to a virtual conference. I was on the planning committee. 1,400 people attended, right? That blew my mind. And one of the things that we saw were all of the sessions were pre-recorded, and then the speakers that pre-recorded it came out and answered questions at the end. And it was so cool because now all of a sudden, you know, it showed how could we manipulate our own data? How could we manipulate our own experiences? So how do we become innovation? Again, I'll repeat, we have to rethink this. My mind says brick and mortar school. I went to a school. I think my dad may have gone to a schoolhouse, but somebody learned in a building. Now all of a sudden we're in a situation where we got kids in the building, kids in the treehouse somewhere learning. But how do we now bring all these in to make it work? So that's my thing.
That's really good. And actually that makes me think of something that I've been kind of playing around with, you know, since everybody's in a virtual or hybrid mode for the most part anyway, this is a great opportunity for us to look at ways that we can work across schools, you know, so there's no reason that a teacher at one school couldn't partner up with a teacher at another school and have students work in teams that are created of students from both places, you know, because that's a great way for them to really start kind of thinking outside the box and learning to work with people from, you know, lots of different places. And it doesn't even have to be, you know, it could be 2 schools within the same district. It could be 2 schools within different districts, but in the same county. It could be 2 schools in different counties in West Tennessee. It could be a school here and a school in LA. That's one of the things we've actually been thinking about for T-STEM that I'm looking forward to talking to Mr. Booker about, because there's a school that's a logistics academy out in LA that I work with the people that are like me, the university partners. And so that was just one of the things we were kind of brainstorming about is, you know, we could totally do this. There's no reason we couldn't. So there's lots of ways that I think we can kind of capitalize on what situation we're in. Does anybody else want to share some kind of innovations you ran across as you were trying to deal with things, you know, this spring, or things you've learned this summer? Any things that you're really excited about? Anybody really excited?
I was going to say one other thing is that we kind of had a trial run at this in March. It was kind of, it's not, none of it, this thing's fortunate, but we were so close to the end of the school year that we kind of got a trial run of this in March. So the whole virtual concept, it's good that we had that to where now it's not so foreign to everybody, but it's for real on how we're going to do it. But it, you know, we did have a little bit of a trial run in March on this though.
Paula, were you going to share something? You leaned up close. So I thought maybe you were going to say something. No. Anybody else?
I'm happy to share something.
Okay, great.
My biggest worry has been getting the work from the students back. Normally I have students come up and present at the board during class. And if they're working together, I can see what they're working on. But when I'm virtual, I can't see what they're working on, and it's very hard for them to present. So we've been using their smartphones and Microsoft Office Lens to take a picture of what they've worked on and share it to the screen. And then they discuss that with the other students. That's pretty good, but if they have to make changes, it's not so convenient because they have to change what's on their paper, then take another picture and then share it again. But so that's my biggest worry is actually, I have a document camera, I can share what I'm writing on, I can change it, but they don't have document cameras. And so actually getting what they're working on is much more difficult.
Hey, so
sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, this is probably for our, and thank you, you made me think about it, Dr. Alastair. I was, for our math teachers that are online, times as I'm solving the equation, you know, it's difficult to type it. I don't know, maybe I'm not that bright, but I'd rather write out my mathematical, you know, solutions. Have you seen any that could help that? so that you can give feedback. I don't know, am I making sense? It's like, how do you, and I guess the question is, how do you give feedback virtually, or do you capture that? I guess whiteboard on Microsoft Office could
It's
do it, but
awful. Getting the students to write with a mouse, my experience of that is it's just awful. So I would much rather have them write it on a piece of paper and then take a picture and share it.
That's
right. That seems to be the best that we can come up with. If you've got people with tablets, actually, that works fine. But not everyone has a tablet, so it's a problem. So if they can write on it with a pen, it looks okay. But if you have to write on it with a mouse, it's a disaster. And typing it doesn't really work for anything that we're working with. And for the little kids who are dealing with just numbers, you could probably do it, but they're little kids, and so typing is not going to work for them either. So yeah, it's really a problem.
What about for people that are all virtual? The thing I've been thinking about is testing. Like, how do we do that? Because if you've got a platform that you're using that can generate different tests for each student and all that, and time them and all that kind of stuff, then that's fabulous. We don't have that. Those are pretty expensive. So, that's one of the things that we have been talking about a whole lot in our faculty meetings is how do you do that so that students actually submit their work. Now, students like Dusty and Sharon would always submit their work, but there are others who would submit Dusty and Sharon's work. So anybody have any good suggestions for dealing with tests online?
Everybody A's.
Well, there's some things, especially like for certifications or ACT, where they're just going to have to come in, and the facility that we use, we're just going to have to accommodate and make it work for them, because those are things that as you well know, we're not going to be able to do online. Not yet anyway. So there'll be some things where they're going to have to come, and we've put that in the policy. You'll have to come on campus if you want to take this. Now, there's going to be other tests that I can see. I'm trying to think in your world, Dr. Ivy, how that's going to look, and it's going to look completely different, I guess, for you.
It's going to look like take-home tests every time, which
yeah.
I've thought about doing oral exams with my students. Like maybe there's like a Sharon. She's like, "Oh no, I'm in her class." maybe they have to come in and talk to me about what they know via Zoom. But then I started looking at how many students I had, and I'm like, wow, I'll be sitting there like the entire day just doing that test. So I'm not sure. So yeah, that's been one of the things that I've been kind of pondering as well. Who else has some innovations? Diedrich, you got something else?
Someone put something in the chat, so I'm definitely going to yield to them. But the one thing I wanted to say is I'm on the, I think I was voluntold to get on the Science Olympiad committee, and there are multiple tests that those students have to take during the competitions. And those are, like you said, it's a competition. So we're actually working that now. That's the same issue, because it's a time test, and we're working through, yes, they're on camera and you're kind of watching them, but reality is there are other things that you can do to make to still get the right answer. Not saying that I would do that, but I've heard other people would do something like that to get.
Yeah, I did see some of the fancy schools where they have really large budgets. They have some really impressive algorithms built into their online platforms for their test, so that it can not only it watches the student, but it also watches the room, and it senses if there's somebody that comes in there with them. So it knows if they change and pull up something different on their browser. I mean, it does all kinds of stuff. So we don't have any of that. So other thoughts?
I know at our school, they're going to have a special day for the online learners to come in to take their exams. So if they've been cheating, copying, or somebody's been doing their work, that's going to come out in the end. Our school also has held 2 ACT tests. We were a testing center twice. We had over 200 people, and we distanced the kids, and we came out with negative results for COVID. It was an undertaking. You have to have a lot of people. I had about no more than 10 students in my classroom for the test. They wore masks coming in. They were escorted separately to the bathrooms, and they didn't leave to, to go take their break like they normally do. They had to do that within the classroom. So that was successful for that.
That's good to know. Anybody else have any other thoughts they want to share?
I wanted to share something, if that's all right.
Yeah.
One thing I liked that I saw with my biology lab I'm taking this semester, I was very sad that it was going to be completely virtual, but my professor is deciding to, instead of doing like a bunch of labs that cover different biology like topics, we're just doing one big lab, and it's like growing a GMO at home. And then it's just like we're learning different concepts every week that go into that, and so we can slowly do like a 9-week lab. But I know that probably doesn't work for everybody because, there's certain guidelines you have to go through and curriculum, but I thought that was something that was cool. So.
That's very cool. I like that.
Maybe like a plant or something, like, if you're more of a biology, life science teacher, like, growing some kind of plant at home for middle school kids or something might be good.
That's pretty cool. Any other thoughts or suggestions?
I'll mention, because I took classes last semester, and then I took some classes over the summer too. So testing has been like all over the place. Everyone's been using their own stuff, but my differential equations class this semester, she is doing just open note. And you have to like be on the camera, and she has to be able to see you. She has to be able to like see your phone sitting there, so you can't have that or access to it. And she wants you to like push it back so you see the whole room. So yeah, that will be interesting. And then I've had others where you just take like pretty much like a exam online and you just submit it. So I don't know, it's gonna be interesting and different for sure.
Yeah, my psychology class I took over the summer, most of our stuff was graded on basically just discussion. So, we had like the discussion post, and it was just basically like a question about how do you feel about this certain subject, and you would just go look up some scholarly articles and kind of just do like, your side of how you feel about it. So it's not really something you can cheat on or anything. It's just, you have the information out there and you just use it to support your claim.
That's a good suggestion too. Anybody else have anything they want to share or ask, pose to the group?
I like the idea that Dusty, I think, brought up about her biology professor doing the one thing and then connecting all the concepts and different standards to that one thing. And so many times we're always trying to get to the finish line. We're doing it, and we're throwing all these things at them. It's really neat, though, if you go really deep into one type project like that. There's so many different types of standards can be touched, and that's something that that I had forgotten about. That's something we could consider with us. Some of the things we're trying to do with our school. So thanks for sharing that, Dusty.
All right, well, I'm going to share a few things that we are going to be doing through the hub this fall, just to let you know what's available. Obviously, we're going to be continuing the After School STEM series. So throughout the rest of August, we've got one a week. But then once September hits, we'll go back to just our once a month schedule, and we'll try to get that developed and shared with you guys pretty soon so that you can get it on your calendars. But if there are particular topics or workshops you would like to see, please don't ever hesitate to shoot me an email and let me know, because we will certainly be glad to try to arrange that into the schedule. So any ideas you have or particular needs you have, just let us know. We are going to be doing something new this year for students. So we're going to do kind of an after school STEM, but for kids, where we're going to do monthly speaker series or / demo or / field trip kind of thing. So it'll be virtual. It'll be open to any student that wants to do it. We did the first one in August with NASA. We had NASA interns present to students. It was targeted more on the K-8 level, but really high school students could have participated as well. It really was open to anybody. But we had 150 students register for that, which we were shocked. And that's actually what made us decide maybe we should do this like on a regular basis. So that ended up being really good. So what we're planning to do is each month have something different, a totally different topic in STEM that might interest all kinds of different students. So it might be that we have, a panel of industry professionals targeting more high school students, helping them think about career paths. It might be that we have somebody doing a really cool demo in a lab. It might be that one in particular that we are going to have is the Air Force Research Center out in New Mexico is actually going to do some kind of STEM demos for our students. So I don't exactly know what that's going to look like yet, but once I know more details, that will be on our calendar. So I think that's going to be pretty cool. We had some really good sessions in G this summer. So we've already kind of tried out a few of these. So we know that they were high interest speakers or high interest demos. So they'll be invited back to reach the masses. So we're hopeful that that will be something that students will take advantage of too. So just be watching for that because we'll be sharing that information. We will still have our on-call program for STEM ambassadors. So this is where, even if you don't have a company or whatever that's sponsoring a regular STEM ambassador at your school, you can have a STEM ambassador that supports you on, just special events and things. So typically this was like, hey, we're having STEM family night, or hey, we're having a career fair, or we want to do this competition or something like that. And so we would have ambassadors come in and do that specific event. So we're still going to do that in a virtual fashion. So if there are demos you would like to see, or if just, there are certain topics that you want the ambassadors to zoom into your room, not Zoom, because I know y'all can't use Zoom, but whatever platform you use, if you want them to pop in and do those with the students, a lot of times just the fact that the STEM ambassadors are a little closer peers, that helps with the engagement. So be thinking about things like that you might like to invite us to be part of. The other thing too, we are going to be doing or resuming some of our tutoring opportunities. So we will have some online tutoring for some specific math and science subjects that will be open to students from anywhere. So we'll be sharing information about that. We are also going to do some ACT prep because that went really well back in June, I guess, when we did it. We had good turnout for that. So we'll be sharing more on that as well. Let's see. The other thing I will mention is that the MATE competition, as of right now, according to their website, it is happening in 2021 in the spring. So we are still planning to do our local competition on the ground, well, not on the ground, in the pool in May of 2021. So you'll be hearing more about that. I've been sending out the session descriptions for the August workshops, and the last one has always been TBA. So it's going to be MATE. So what we're going to do, if you're not familiar with that or didn't join us for the spring workshop, we did an overview of what that is. It's an underwater robotics competition. So we are going to move forward with that. And we promise that even if we have pandemic version 3.0, we are still going to have some version of a competition for the students. So even if they can't be together, we will do an online version where they get to present to a panel of judges or something. So there will still be something that they get to do. So it will not be canceled. We are also going to do monthly virtual sessions with the students and teachers that are involved. So, you know, if the students need to learn to solder, or if the students need to learn whatever, we will have those sessions planned out so that that supports the development of the projects over the course of the year. So that last session in August will be focused on MATE, and Sharon is actually going to be one of the people that will be leading that, because she participated in a workshop in East Tennessee last fall. Was it fall or early spring? It's hard to remember anymore.
It's spring. It's February.
Okay, so pre-pandemic, she went to a very in-depth hands-on workshop and learned all kinds of stuff. So she's going to lead a little bit more of a in-depth look at what's involved in the competition and what skills students will need to have, and kind of how you might plan that out with your students, so that not only will you be able to experience that, but then we can have a discussion about, okay, so where do you need help? What are the things, what are the topics that you think we need to include in this monthly session that we're going to do for the students and teachers, so that we can make sure that's as supportive as possible. And then I just also wanted to mention next session, next week. Alastair, do you want to tell them a little bit about that?
So I can certainly tell them something. Code Crew will be presenting for 90 minutes. I'm still waiting for the paragraph describing what they're doing, but as soon as we have that, we'll send that out to you. I had a long conversation with him, and we're going to make sure that everything takes place in the browser, so there won't be anything that you need to upload. You just need to turn up with a computer, log on, and have a browser available, and they'll show you some things that they can do. It may be around computational thinking, but we're not sure yet.
I'm typing this.
I should know what the topic is and who's presenting by sometime on Friday.
And I will send, once we have that description, I'll send out the links again, so that if you haven't registered and you want to, you can. I will also have the description for our MATE workshop on there as well, so that you can sign up for that one if you haven't already. I was amazed at how many people signed up, not even knowing what it was going to be. So and we had lots of signups for TBA. So thank you for that trust that we would come up with something. So I think that was all that I knew of that we needed to share. Does anybody have anything else?
Dr. Ivy, if it's okay, I do have one question. And I pose this, and please feel free to use the chat box. I'm working with several different groups for fall competitions, and everyone is kind of pivoting towards some type of virtual or e-competition. If you would be interested in even hearing that, not now. Well, I told everybody to wait till after the dust settles from the first 4 weeks of school. If we start looking into mid-September, would you be interested in hearing about online opportunities for your students? You can say thumbs up, something in the chat box. Okay.
Diedrich, I think you've just defined what the September workshop should be.
Right. I don't know. We're scratching our heads, and everyone. I know the VEX folks are talking a lot about it. The Lego robotics, for those that own the Lego robots, they, like you mentioned that one. So I feel encouraged, because every time they asked me that they wanted to send a survey out now, I was like, please don't. I mean, let everyone be able to at least get kids online, or get them all safe while they're in the schools. But I'm even talking to, and I need your help, Clark. We're looking at what are opportunities even with TSA and some other stuff like that. But thank you for responding.
All right. Well, thank you to everybody that joined us today. We appreciate it, and great discussion from everybody. I think I just sent this to Alastair. I'm sorry. I will send all of you the information that I shared about the dates for the next 2 workshops. So I'll make sure you have that. And then
I shared them with everyone after you sent them. I sent to everyone.
Yeah. It's hard to talk and chat at the same time. But in any case, we appreciate you being here, and we will post this recording to our YouTube channel. So if there's anything that you want to go back and listen to, you'll be able to. And I did also just want to say that our new website for the STEM Hub will be going live hopefully next week. I feel like I say this like every week, but we really, really are very close now. It has been a huge task, but it looks so cool and so much more, I think, user-friendly. So we'll see how it goes. So once you see that go live, let us know if you have any suggestions or if there's any other stuff that you'd like to see on it. So in any case, hope you guys have a good rest of the week, and we will hopefully see you next Thursday for Code Crew. Bye, everybody.